All right. Well, that was a lot of fun. And he was right. He was talking about, it's hard to believe, what is true nowadays. It seems like there's so many lies going around. And I don't know if you've been censored out there, but I have. And some of my talks you can see on Revival of Truth on Rumble. And so if you want to look behind some things behind the headlines, so what they're not telling you, you can check that out. But what we're trying to do tonight is get the hydroplate theory into the next generation. And again, another way to do that is again for Christmas. You can get these, NASA NASA scientists work for Walt Brown. There was just another Alexandra Astro Alexandra clip today about Comet Bennu, and that points directly everything that they find there. It's amino acids or RNA and all these organic material. And she's saying, see, that's how life could have began out there. It's like, no, that came from Earth. It's like if you saw, some 2x4s and broken windows and, rebar and shingles. And it's like, look, that building's getting put together. No, that building was destroyed. And that's what the comets are evidence of. It was a destroyed Earth. And so, yeah, there's a lot of information that's out there. And I'm so thankful that you're just taking a look at this. And I encourage you to share and ask questions. And we're going to be doing, after Fred McNabb's talk, we're going to be going through some accurate predictions that the hydroplate has made. And then we're also going to give you some previews for tomorrow night, and also some highlights from this week. And so we get you up to speed. And so with that, I will see you on the other side. Okay, well, welcome to the Hydroplate Theory Week of Celebration again. We are blessed to have Fred McNabb here with us, and he's got a YouTube channel that has some very thought-provoking videos. It's called Fred McNabb on YouTube, and it's a lot of these questions. It's just logical common sense, and it's explained by the hydroplate, and so thank you so much for being here, Fred.
Okay, glad to be here. Thank you, Brian.
Indeed. So how did you find out about the hydroplate theory?
Well, basically, it came through the Real Science Radio.
Oh, yeah.
I was listening to those guys and you guys, and it was an amazing thing. They started filling in a lot of the gaps in my knowledge, and all of a sudden things started clicking, if you will.
Yeah.
And my background is cosmic ray physics, and
wow.
I am kind of a science type guy, but I haven't used it in a long time. But everything that you guys were saying made a lot of sense. And then when you referenced Dr. Brown's book in the beginning, I just had to have it. So I got 4 of them, one for me and one for each of my children. And it's an amazing thing. It's like, I guess I've been on it about 7 years now and gone through it a couple of times, and I still haven't scratched the bottom of all the information he's got in there. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is incredible. You can just spend a whole day or week just doing Walt Brown surfing from one footnote to the next note to this source. It is tremendous fun. You had mentioned some physics in your background. What is your background?
Well, let's see.
Your educational background. Do you have a PhD
No. University of Houston Cosmic Ray Physics Lab. Now it's called, I think, the Earth. I don't even know what it's called now.
Yeah.
But it was called the Cosmic Ray Physics Lab, and we used to launch Arcus rockets and super Arcus rockets up above the Arctic Circle, because what happened was balloons could only go up so high in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Satellites could only come down. So there was about 45 miles in there that wasn't being investigated. So we would launch rockets up there, parachutes would come down, we would gather the data, then analyze it.
Oh, wow. So you and Brian Young, you guys could probably talk for days and days and days.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was a lot
Wow.
of fun. I learned a lot there.
So you are kind of a rocket scientist, kind of.
Yeah, well, kind of maybe. And then went into the Navy, became a Navy pilot. So 20
Oh,
years in
wow.
there. Worked with David Barton and his group at Wall Builders. Got to help write one of his books, Original Intent.
Oh, wow.
And then I started the first charter school here in Texas, Renaissance science program, physics, chemistry, electronics, and robotics. And got the teacher retirement out of that. Then I went to the airlines and taught there for 20 and got a retirement out of that too. So
Wow.
now I'm retired. I'm enjoying life, and I'm got a little bit more time to work on those things that are important,
Wow,
like
you did.
spreading the Bible to my grandchildren.
Amen. Amen. So you're the
Yeah,
Renaissance man. You can do almost everything. Praise the Lord for that.
exactly. We're in
Indeed.
physics class, and we're talking all about the founding fathers, and it was a lot of fun.
Wow. Oh, praise the Lord. So you and Pastor Lee would have some Navy stories to tell too. Yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah.
incredible how, people with a real applied science really like this theory. The hydroplate theory, the engineers like it, and then but the people with more of a theoretical degree like geology,
Hmm.
they resist it with all their might, it seems like. So it's an interesting dichotomy. So yeah, it's when you saw the hydroplate theory, what drew you the most? I mean, what did you think the hard or even today, what do you think the best evidence is for the hydroplate theory?
Well, at first, obviously, I was very skeptical, but it started filling in holes in the gaps of my knowledge. And I think today, for me, the best thing or the most important thing is the fact that it's got those 57 scientific predictions.
Yes.
And by my count, I think his book only has, it says 12 of them have been confirmed. By my count, it's 19.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
that is unheard of. I mean,
Right.
Big Bang made 15 predictions. All of them have been falsified.
Right. Right. And even the catastrophic plate tectonics, I asked one of the big proponents of that, hey, what predictions have you made and which ones were accurate? And he said, we don't make predictions. And then I had also questioned, what biblical support do you have that differentiates it from the other flood models? And they didn't have any.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's interesting times we're living in where a theory that's making so many accurate predictions is getting kicked to the curb. And
Yeah.
we're doing what we can to bring it into the light. And what would I mean, do you have any ideas on how we can get this more into the mainstream?
Well, I think this is going to be a ground roots up type
Yes.
methodology. I don't think
Yes.
you're going to wind up getting it into the universities.
Well,
So
I'd be
basically,
happy if we could get it into the creation museums,
oh, exactly.
you
Well,
know,
like
and
on the CPT, I am working on a video, The Seven Miracles of CPT.
oh, good for you. Good
Yeah.
for you. Yeah, we're trying to get the CPT guys and the HPT guys to have a roundtable discussion where you can critique, what are the strengths and weaknesses of each model. And the CPT people they're making all these excuses why not to do it. And it
Yeah.
kind of reminds me of how evolutionists treat creationists. And
Exactly.
I'm thinking we should have multiple flood models so people can compare and contrast and they can think independently and sharpen their analytical skills and then actually think about it. And because, it's that's what we need. And I hope there's a race. There should be a race. Which creation museum is going to have the hydroplate theory? Have the multiple theories instead of just
Yeah.
forcing one on people. And so
Yeah.
hopefully this sheds some light on that. Have you had any, you had mentioned Walt Brown, or I mean, Real Science Radio. That was a big thing for
Uh-huh.
me to learn about this. Bob Anyer was just brilliant
Oh,
in the way
yeah.
he could
Yes.
have those interviews, and his sense of humor and his boldness was just second to none
Exactly.
and just incredible. And that was what really colored in the details for me was Walt Brown week when there was 5 interviews with Walt Brown. And this just
Hmm.
colors in all the
Yep.
details.
Oh,
Someone
yeah.
else had connected the dots, fossils
Yeah.
are a sign of a flood, not millions of years, and evolution's based on lies. So I had that framework, but then Walt just colored in all the details. And, I've never seen the world or the solar system the same again.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so incredible. Did you, I mean, any of those interviews, or did you have any contact with Walt Brown at all?
No, unfortunately, I never met him and I never attended any of his presentations.
Yeah.
The only way I know about him is basically through his book, through Brian Nichols' videos,
Oh, yeah.
and Real Science Radio videos there, and yours, and it's just yeah,
Yeah.
through other people who know him.
Yeah, and your flood video did Genesis flood happen or something? The one that you made?
Yeah.
That was incredible,
Well,
with
thank you.
with your graphics, and it was easily understood. It's kind of reminded me of Brian Nickel, but yet for a younger, a younger age.
Yeah. Well,
Brian
I
Nickel.
am younger in mine.
Yeah, so like it's not as technical, but yet it's very understandable. And then your images of the bent rock layers. Oh my goodness.
Well, thank
Those
you.
those couldn't come together by chance. And so thank you for doing those
Yeah.
videos.
You're
And
welcome.
hopefully more people share them and learn them. And was the intent of those videos for your children, or what inspired you to make hydroplate
Yeah,
videos?
about 7 years ago, when I was reaching retirement age, I ran across some surveys about young people in the church,
Yeah.
people who were being brought up in the church and they would lose their faith by the
Yeah.
end of the first year at college.
Yeah.
I had two of my children go over to Germany on a mission trip. And when they came back, my wife and I met them at the airport and I asked them, hey, how'd it go? And they said, not too good. So I asked why. And she said, well, the girls, they had a hard time with Genesis, 6 days of creation, because, evolution has proven that it's more than 6,000 years. And the boys said, no, we can't have the flood. There's no global flood. There's no
Really?
evidence for that. And that's what they're being taught in their schools, just like our folks are being taught in our schools.
Sure.
And excuse me, how can you go through 12, 13, 14, 15 years of school being told something
Yeah.
and not have that influence you
Oh, no
and
doubt.
cause you to believe it?
No doubt.
So
And what bothers
anyway,
me, they're just teaching a blind chance perspective of the past. This isn't science versus religion. This is blind chance versus creation. And that
yeah,
bothers me. They're only given one perspective, so they just memorize, they don't think. And what bothers me even more is they're using false information in the textbooks to have them believe that false image of the past. And when
exactly.
I pointed it out to the curriculum director and the school board and the
Yeah,
superintendent, they just ignored it. And they
yeah,
had no problem teaching stuff that
yeah,
wasn't accurate.
yeah,
And so I'm hoping that enough taxpayers and Christians would unite to make sure that accurate information is being taught. And I look
exactly.
through our state standards, and it's like, well, the standard says that, the embryos are similar during development when they're not. And
Right.
so that's why it's in the textbook. It's not accurate, but that's why it's there. The state standards are skewed. And so I think you're right. It does have to be a bottom up. We just have to have
Yeah,
enough people not believing
yeah,
the emperor's beautiful clothes, because the
yeah.
evolution is not at
No, but
all.
just a serious question here. How often have you heard this topic spoken about from the pulpit?
Well, that's the problem. That
Yeah,
is the problem. We had one of our first creation science clubs this year, and there was a student there that had grown up in the church from an infant. She'd been to Sunday schools, she'd been to camps, she's been to retreats, and now she's in college.
yeah, yeah.
And she said, well, what happened to dinosaurs? She didn't know, and she didn't have the perspective. And I said, I explained it to her, and I said, have you ever had somebody with a microphone explain the creation model? And she said, no.
Wow.
And even
Yeah,
yesterday, I was tabling at a college and we found we're going to start a creation club there too. And he was a pastoral, and this is a Christian college. And he said wants to be a pastor or a youth pastor. And he's teaching second grade at his church. And I thought, good for you.
mm,
And he
okay.
said a little girl asked him about dinosaurs and he didn't know what to say. And so then he said he was going to
Yeah.
check into it and, ask a pastor or two or whatever. And I said, so what are you going to tell her? And he goes, I don't know.
Mm,
And so I was able to explain dinosaurs from the Bible. But you're absolutely right. The churches are dropping the ball big
yep,
time on this. When
yep,
I was, there was a big Christian event in town, and I have these marker boards and I ask questions. It's like, well, what do you
yep,
ask a Christian? And so I put, when did dinosaurs live? Millions of years, thousands of years, and
yep,
millions of years, 81 to 51.
yep.
And that's a big problem. And we got pastors that, and after the main street where I was at, where all the college clubs were, somebody from the ELCA came up and we talked for an hour, and he asked, well, did Adam and Eve live? And oh no, they're just allegory.
Yeah.
And it was so many mental gymnastics that he was doing. And he thought that, well, everybody goes to heaven. It's, Muslims, Buddhists, that's all worshiping the same God. And so that's
Mm,
basically calling Jesus a liar. He said, I'm the
exactly.
way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by me.
Yep.
And so, yeah, there's some real twisted theology out there. And we just have to get back to Genesis. And I think that's why Satan attacks Genesis so much, because, if God didn't mean what he said at the beginning, how can we trust
Mm,
him at the end?
exactly.
So have your
Exactly.
have your grandkids been receptive to the message? Or are they thinking,
Some of them have, yes. I throw little bits in here, little bits in there. We've watched one video, I think. So, yeah.
what are your upcoming videos going to be? What are you going to think you're going to touch?
Well, the one I'm working on right now is basically your idea, and the fact that you spoke to a geology professor. You gave her a copy of
Yeah,
the eighth edition of Walt
yeah,
Brown's book in the beginning, and she had it for 6 months and went
yeah.
over it. And you went back and talked to her. You asked her a question, and you said, "What do you think?" And she says, "Well, science works, but I disagree with the initial uh,
Assumption.
assumption." Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's what I'm trying to do, is get the initial assumption about, hey, there was water and is water under
yeah.
the ground here in
Oh
the
yeah.
earth.
Oh yeah.
Not only that, 19 other objects in our solar system have subsurface waters.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and three
Yeah.
of them are ejecting water out, just like Job 38 8 says. And so we'll see. And
What
that's
is
the same thing.
help
Well,
me
that
with Job 38:3? Can you paraphrase that?
no, well, let me put it this way. Let me let you look it up in the Bible. Okay, 38
Okay.
8. So
All
that
right.
one, but it deals with the ejection of the water coming out of the fountains of the great deep.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
it's precisely describes Genesis 7:11 and Job 38 8.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just last year, I gave that textbook to another professor. I gave the Walt Brown in the ninth edition or eighth edition to her, and she had it 2 days and gave it back. And she said, "We don't have to meet again. And pick it up at the pick it up." We didn't even meet. She said, "Just pick it
Yeah.
up in the office."
Yeah.
And then basically she said or emailed that Walt's not a geologist, so she doesn't care what he has to say. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, Darwin wasn't a biologist, and he sure gets a lot of ink.
Yep.
So yeah, it's pretty crazy. Well, I
Yeah.
think that yeah, I think we've covered most of
Mhm.
it. Is there any closing thoughts as far as honoring Walt or encouraging
Well,
people to check out the hydroplate?
I definitely appreciate his service in the military.
Mm,
And I definitely appreciate his tenacity in putting this thing together, going through 9 editions.
yeah,
And excuse me, you got over 1,000 references in here. That is quite an accomplishment and takes up a lot of time.
yeah,
Not only that, it's so simple. And every time you hear Dr. Brown on video or whatever, it's like he's so very calm.
yeah,
He knows. I mean, you only receive that kind of calmness when you know you're right,
right.
and that drew me a lot into him as well. And because you wind up talking to even the ICR people, well, maybe, could have, should have, might have. A lot of those type of words are showing up. And with Dr. Brown, not only to say, hey, this is the way it probably happened, boom, here's the evidence, and here's the data, and here's the
Yeah,
references.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I just love that.
yeah,
And
yeah,
especially when he sits there and he shows all the other theories,
yeah,
and he shows, okay, which one is strong in this area on this
yeah.
topic,
Oh yeah.
which one is weak. It's just amazing to me.
Oh yeah, those decision tables where they got the theories on
Yeah,
top and the features on the side and red, green, yellow, and it's it's green all the way down hydroplate and everybody else is red or yellow.
exactly.
Incredible. And
Yeah.
that's how you get geologists to look at the theory because they don't have a
Mhm.
theory for Grand Canyon and they know it.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law, he had a geology class in college, and they went through trying to figure out Grand Canyon. looked at all these theories, none of them work. And then on that Friday, the professor says, there's one theory that we didn't look at. Anybody know what it is? And the kid said, Noah's flood. And he said, you're right, but we can't talk about it.
Yeah,
So,
unfortunately.
yeah, they don't have an answer,
Yeah,
but they sure won't
yeah,
let anything come
yeah,
from the Bible,
yeah,
and which is just a
yeah.
tragedy.
And
And
can I leave you with one thought real quick?
yeah,
Remember the strata that we have? Millions of years, and then millions of
yeah,
years, and then millions of years. And they're all different, and they're all kind of pure,
yeah,
and they're different. How do you wind up having an environment for a million years
yeah,
that's exactly the same? And
yeah,
then all of a sudden, the environment changes.
yeah,
And now for another million years.
yeah,
But sediment deposition, that seems to solve the whole thing.
yeah, yeah. Do you go along with that liquefaction thing too, where it
In water, absolutely yes.
So would
Absolutely.
that, and I had that up, and somebody asked me a question. I didn't know how to answer it. It was, would that mess up the cross bedding or the footprints? And it's like, well, I don't know.
Well, it depends on how, remember, this is a global
Yeah,
event.
yeah,
Things that are close to where the fountains of the Great Deep broke up, it's
yeah.
going to probably be very turbulent.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Halfway between them, it's probably going to be pretty calm.
Okay.
And when you have water coming over, of course, you got water going up, but you got
Yeah,
water coming this way too.
yeah.
And if this way comes in and covers up the footprints,
Yeah.
it kind of protects them.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah. So they had to be sorted before it was laid down. Yeah, it's an interesting theory, and it's very well, it should be discussed. And that's what I'm trying to do is get the scientific method so we can think critically, see both sides.
yeah.
That's what we're trying to get in. And I was interviewing Mike Snavely, and he came across the book and called up Walt, and he was teaching it in his Sunday school, and it's like 200 people in there. And he said, everybody, okay, write down your hardest questions. We'll see if we can get Walt Brown on the phone to answer them. And
Okay.
so that's what they did. They lined it up, and Walt was on the phone, and he answered they were hooked to the speaker system. Everybody could hear the questions and the answers through the speaker system. And I said, did Walt know what you were going to ask him? And he goes, no, not at all. And yet, when we're trying to get the hydroplate and catastrophic plate discussion, one of the CPT guys, he wants a list of pre-approved questions.
Yeah.
And that's not how science should be. If your theory is so solid, you should be able to handle any question. But
True.
he wanted a list of approved questions, so I sent him a whole list. And but anyhow, he hasn't selected any to be discussed publicly. But that shows, Walt Brown is willing to step up. And then when he would debate people, he would send the guy a month before the debate. He says, "This is what I'm going to cover." And so they
Hmm.
knew what he was going to say, and they could have publicly embarrassed him if they could have,
Yeah.
but they couldn't because he was
Yeah.
right. And so we're trying to get that in there the best we can.
Yeah.
Well,
And Dr. Brown approaches it from a science viewpoint, not a
yes.
biblical viewpoint, even though it does match the Bible.
Yeah,
And a lot of those opponents will try to bring in the religious aspect of it. And Dr. Brown didn't want that. He just wanted strictly the science behind it. And I
sure.
think that's also really nice.
Well, yeah, yeah. And I interviewed Pastor Kevin Lee, and he said that we should start with the Bible. If there's any theory that it's not validated by the Bible, let's not worry about it.
Yeah.
And that's another perspective. And there's a lot of biblical support for the hydroplate theory. And then I really like what Walt Brown said about, we should wait for a theory to make accurate predictions before they can be published.
Mm.
He said that would
Oh,
save us a lot of wasted time and money.
yeah.
But, well, thank you so much, Fred. I do appreciate that you've taken time out of your schedule, and I'm glad that in your retirement that you're focusing on this hydroplate. And I think this is where the battle is.
Yeah.
The world's a mess because there's a battle between God's truth and Satan's lies in every area. And
Yeah.
ground zero for that is creation versus evolution.
Bingo.
And the ammo is the museums and the textbooks. And so we need to get the errors out of that. And we also need to get this into the mainstream so people can see the truth And then, because I think this theory will destroy the Big Bang, you
Yes.
know, with the accurate predictions that it's made and with NASA discoveries, it'll destroy the Big Bang and when we get it into the mainstream. So thank you for what you're doing to reach the younger generation. And I encourage everybody out there to go onto YouTube and watch the Fred and subscribe to Fred McNabb, McNabb. And so, yeah, get those videos and they are very well worth the time.
Yeah, if you're interested on all of the PowerPoints that I've done, it's on the archive,
Oh,
archive.org, and it's under Logeye, Logeye.
Logeye.
Yeah,
And
come let
that's,
us remove the log so that we may no longer be a reproach.
wow. Okay, so they can find that at archive.org,
Yes,
archive.org, and then search Logie, Logeye,
Logeye.
Logeye. Yep.
Remove the log from your eye.
Oh, I get it. Yeah. Yeah, that's what we need. Well, thanks again for all your work. And do you do any public talks? Do you speak at churches at all?
Well, yeah, we had Tate Springs University for 2 semesters. I did that. And it was kind of interesting because it was the most highly attended class.
Well, yeah.
And the congregates wanted more, but unfortunately we switched pastors.
Okay.
And that sort of fell away. And then we had COVID. And so now I'm trying to build it back up again.
So
And
you would be willing to speak at a church or a school
oh,
if
sure.
invited?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How would they contact you?
Uh, just fmcnabb@hotmail.com.
F McNabb. So everybody out there at Hotmail, talk to your pastor, you know, is there a certain age group? I bet you're really good with kids. I bet.
I like the youth best.
Yeah.
The fun thing about the older group that are PhDs in geology and stuff, it gets to
Yeah.
be rather interesting because I'm not 100% expert in geology,
Right.
and they'll ask some very interesting questions with words I don't even know what they mean, you know. But yeah, the whole concept is there. So
What what state do you live in? Where are you at?
in Texas,
You're
in
in
the metro
Texas.
DFW metroplex.
Oh, okay. So if there's any churches down there who want a speaker yeah, F McNabb at hotmail.com. I pray that God opens doors for you and that you touch many souls so that there's a big reward in heaven. So, and this is what it's really all about. Point people to the Creator so they can
Amen.
put their faith in Jesus dying on the cross to pay for our sins. And I think that's why there's so much resistance to it. So
Yeah.
thank you for reaching the people. And again, if you're watch and check out Fred McNabb on YouTube. And if you want him to speak, F McNabb at Hotmail. So I hope that God keeps you busy in your retirement.
Okay. Thank
Thanks
you
again.
very much, Brian.
Oh, my
Appreciate it.
pleasure. Thank you for
God
taking
bless.
time. All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Yeah, we've had a lot of fun today, and I'm going to show you we're going to give you some highlights for next week, and then we're also going to show you some promos for tomorrow and give you some highlights from the week so far. But before we do that, I'd like to present to you the hydroplate protocol, and that's where Walt Brown talked about before you give anybody. Excuse me just a sec. Okay. Before the hydroplate protocol, before you present your theory, you should present all the accurate predictions that it makes and also all the biblical support for that. And so that's what we're going to do. We'll start with the Bible. Let's see. I'll try to share this real quick. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to take me down. Let's see.